استشهاد الزميلة شيرين أبو عاقلة برصاص الجيش الإسرائيلي أثناء.
For Al Jazeera Network, our correspondent Shireen Abu Akleh has been shot in the face and has died shortly.
We see this as intentional targeting of Al Jazeera and its journalists to prevent them from conducting their duties and reporting to the world what's happening.
Israeli forces have shot dead Al Jazeera's journalist Shireen Abu Akleh.
Al Jazeera reporter Shireen Abu Akleh was shot and killed while covering an Israeli raid in the town of Jenin.
The Al Jazeera reporter was shot in the head while covering a raid by Israeli forces in the occupied West Bank on Wednesday.
Thousands came to say their goodbyes. Many are feeling they knew Shireen personally. That's how much she connected with her audience, telling the story of her people, and now becoming the story.
The death of journalist Shireen Abu Akleh turned tense when Israeli police suddenly moved in, swinging their batons. At one point, the pallbearers, trying to reach a church in Jerusalem, nearly dropped the casket.
Abu Akleh, a veteran journalist working for Al Jazeera, was killed on Wednesday. She was reporting on an Israeli raid into the occupied West Bank when she was shot in the head.
The Al Jazeera reporter was killed during an Israeli army raid on the Jenin refugee camp in the occupied West Bank. Al Jazeera says Israeli forces shot the reporter.
Memory of a remarkable journalist who lost her life. We know that there is, with this disturbing footage from the funeral procession today in Jerusalem.
Thousands of mourners have gathered in Jerusalem for the funeral of Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh, who was shot while covering an Israeli raid this week.
The killing of Shireen Abu Akleh 2 days ago has enraged.
Varios miles de personas han despedido este viernes en Jerusalén a la periodista Shireen Abu Akleh, muerta el miércoles mientras cubría una redada del ejército israelí en Cisjordania. El funeral.
ग्लोबल न्यूज़ इस वक्त बड़ी खबर जेरूसलम से है, जहां कल इजरायली पुलिस ने अल जजीरा की जर्नलिस्ट शीरीन अबू अक्ले के जनाजे को ले जा रहे।
Shireen Abu Akleh no era una figura de Estado, pero como reportera sí la consideraban generaciones de palestinos y su funeral y entierro han sido unos de los más largos y multitudinarios. Tras el acto de Estado en Ramallah, hoy miles de personas acompañaron su féretro durante 6 kilómetros en Jerusalén Este, desde un hospital.
Gathered in East Jerusalem during a funeral service of slain Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh, who was shot dead on Wednesday, allegedly by the Israeli army.
Mourners who were carrying her coffin. You can see it making its way into the church here. This comes just days after Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh was shot dead while reporting on a military raid in the West Bank. NBC News.
Al Jazeera network was shot and killed while covering an Israeli raid in the West Bank. MTS Tayyab is tracking.
Video from Jenin in the West Bank that's been circulating, and it shows the moments after Shireen Abu Akleh was shot. She's the Al Jazeera.
Shireen Abu Akleh was a well-known Palestinian female reporter for the broadcaster's Arabic language channel. The Qatar-based group said the killing was a tragic, premeditated murder that violates international laws and norms. It went on to say the Israeli occupation forces, in cold blood, assassinated our reporter, Shireen Abu Akleh.
Through Jenin streets in the occupied West Bank, they carry the body of one of Al Jazeera's most respected reporters. Shireen Abu
Akleh has just arrived in the Old City for the church service to mark her death. It was being held at a hospital in East Jerusalem in Sheikh Jarrah.
Shows Israeli police clashing here with a crowd of mourners who appear to have been beaten with batons, actually causing the pallbearers to briefly drop Shireen's casket. So many allegations have been made since Shireen's death. Her network Al Jazeera accusing Israel of, quote, blatant murder.
She was the figureheads of Al Jazeera's Arabic coverage of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
This morning I woke up to the news of the killing of Shireen Abu Akleh. Shireen was a veteran journalist for Al Jazeera. She was a mentor, a colleague, and above all, she was my friend. Shireen was killed while she was doing her job reporting on an Israeli military raid taking place in the occupied West Bank.
Israeli military raid in the contested West Bank. Al Jazeera Shireen Akleh, a joint Palestinian and American citizen,
had covered events in East Jerusalem and the West Bank for 3 decades.
The correspondent with Al Jazeera, she informed millions of Arabic speakers about Israel-Palestine after joining the network in 1997.
Shireen was standing, preparing for a DTL, and then she was targeted. She was shot by a bullet that was, targeted her head. We consider this an intentional act. It's an assassination.
Shireen Abu Akleh était l'une des plus célèbres reporters de Al Jazeera depuis 1996.
Da jornalista da Al Jazeera, que foi morta enquanto cobria confrontos na Cisjordânia. Olha essa cena, se a gente não mostrasse a imagem...
C'était une journaliste de renom, correspondante dans les territoires palestiniens pour Al Jazeera depuis l'an 2000.
Tout d'abord, son employeur Al Jazeera, les journalistes sur place, ainsi que les responsables palestiniens, estiment avec certitude qu'elle a été tuée par un tir de l'armée.
For Al Jazeera was killed by gunfire.
Como periodista no fueron suficientes para evitar la muerte de la palestino-estadounidense Shireen Abu Akleh, corresponsal del medio catarí Al Jazeera. Un suceso que ha conmocionado.
شيرين ضيف ملائكي، يعني في فلسطين بتحببك في البلد أكثر، وعندما تأتي إلى الدوحة تصير أجمل بكل.
شيرين الإنسانة وشيرين الزميلة وشيرين المدرسة التي يقتدي بها الكثير من الصحفيين العرب والمراسلين العرب.
تذكر أولا شيرين الإنسانة الخلوقة المؤدبة، ماذا أقول أكثر من ذلك؟ شيرين إنسانة حقيقية مكتنزة بالإنسانية.
It's not a job. It wasn't a job for her, and with all that experience, she was yet very humble.
Our relations at the correspondence desk with Shireen, the martyr, were based on 3 levels. Shireen, the human being, Shireen, the professional journalist, and Shireen, who has and owned a cause.
She was an incredible mentor of mine. I would probably say out of all of the journalists that I worked with there on the ground, and there are a lot, she was perhaps the one that took me under her wing the most, taught me the lay of the land, taught me as much as I could possibly learn about the politics of the region and what was happening.
بالفعل عثمان لا أستطيع أن أصف لك المشاعر منذ لحظة وصولي.
القدس الغربية، رام الله المحتلة، من مدينة عسقلان، جنوب رام الله، القاهرة، نيويورك، من حاجز قلنديا، شمال القدس المحتلة، من تجمع حمصة، من أراضي قرية ميعار، من حاجز بيت حنون، واشنطن، لندن، قرب سجن عوفر، من مدينة ريتشموند، فيرجينيا، من قرية شوشحلة، بيت لحم، من قرية بلعين، من قرية لا سافر، جنوب الخليل، من قرية دير الجير، من مخيم الأمعري، بلدة العيسوية، من منطقة الأنوار، بلدة سيلة الحارثية، من حي الشيخ جراح، جنين. شيرين أبو عاقلة، الجزيرة، الأراضي الفلسطينية. لن أنسى أبداً حجم الدمار ولا الشعور بأن الموت كان أحياناً على مسافة قريبة. لم نكن نرى بيوتنا.
لم يرد الخبر منك هذه المرة.
استشهاد الزميلة شيرين أبو عاقلة.
بل عنك يا شيرين، عن شجاعتك، عن رحيلك المر. كم نحن مفجوعون يا شيرين. قصصك ستظل مصدر إلهام لنا، والحقيقة التي عشقتها ستنير مسيرتنا. نحن على العهد يا شيرين، سنكمل الرحلة بلا خوف.